Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Eran Fitria Permata Dewi from English Education 4th semester. So today, I'm going to talk about curriculum and material development. This presentation will deal with 4 main points. The first one is introduction, and the second one is varieties of English language teaching. The third is principle and procedures of materials development, and the last one is material development. Okay, for introduction, Gödel said in his study of global trends surrounding English comments, on the one hand, the availability of English as a global language is accelerating globalization. On the other, the globalization is accelerating the use of English. He refers to a statistical projection of the number of learners. There could be around 2 billion people simultaneously learning English in the world's schools and colleges, and as independent adults. Nearly a third of the world population will all be trying to learn English at the same time. Okay, the second one is varieties of English language teaching. Has 5 varieties. The first one is EFL, or English as a foreign language. The second one is ESL, or English as a second language. The third is EYL, or English for young learners. The fourth is EAP, English for academic purpose. And the last one is ESP, or English for specific purpose. And EAP means English taught to those who wish to study at institutes of higher education. ESP means English taught outside English-speaking regions. EYL means English taught inside English-speaking regions to non-native learners. ESL means English taught as an additional language to very young learners up to normally primary level. EFL means English taught for specific occupational purpose such as English for medicine and for business. Okay, and this is principles and procedures of material development. Language teaching. Most people think of teaching as the overt presentation of information by teachers to learners. In this book, the term teaching is used to refer to anything done by materials developers or teachers to facilitate the learning of the language. This could include the teacher standing at the front of the classroom explaining the convention of direct speech in English. A textbook providing samples of language use and guiding learners to make discoveries from them. A textbook inviting learners to reflect on the way they have just read a passage. The teacher providing the vocabulary a learner needs, whilst participating in a challenging task. Teaching can be direct, indirect, preemptive, facilitative, responsive, and remedial. Direct, in that it transmits information overtly to the learners. Indirect, in that it helps the learners to discover things for themselves. Preemptive, in that it aims to prevent problems. Facilitative, in that it aims to help the learners do something. Responsive, in that it responds to a need for a language when it occurs. Remedial, in that it aims to remedy problems. Language learning. Learning is normally considered to be a conscious process which consists of the committing to memory of information relevant to what is being learned. While such direct learning of, for example, spelling rules, conversion of greetings and vocabulary items can be useful to the language learner, it is arguable that much language learning consists of subconscious development of generalization about how the language is used, and both of conscious and subconscious development of skills and strategies which apply that generalization to acts of communication. Language learning can be explicit, implicit, a declarative knowledge, and a procedural knowledge. Explicit is the learners are aware of when and what they are learning. Implicit is the learners are not aware of when and what they are learning. A declarative knowledge, knowledge about a language system. A procedural knowledge, knowledge of how the language is used. Okay, this is for material development. Curriculum and material development have 14 materials, but today I would like to discuss with 3 materials. Okay, the first one is materials should achieve impact. The second is material should take into account that learners differ in learning style. And the third is material should maximize learning potential by encouraging intellectual, aesthetic, and emotional involvement which stimulates both right and left brain activities. Okay, material should achieve impact. Impact is achieved when materials have a noticeable effect on learners. That is, when the learner's curiosity, interest, and attention are attracted. If this is achieved, there is better chance that some of the language in the material will be taken in for processing. Material can achieve impact through novelty, variety, attractive presentation, appealing content, and achievable challenge. Okay, novelty is mean unusual topic, illustration, and activity. And variety, for example, is for breaking up the monotony of a unit routine with an unexpected activity, using many different text types taken from many different types of source, using a number of different instructor voice on a CD. And for attractive presentation, for example, use of attractive colors, lots of white space, and use of photograph. And for appealing content, for example, topics of interest to the target learners, topic which offer the possibility of learning something new. And for achievable challenge, for example, tasks which challenge the learners to think. And the second is materials should take into account that learners differ in learning style. Different learners have different preferred learning styles. So, for example, those learners with a preference for study learning are much more likely to gain from explicit grammar teaching than those who prefer experiential learning. And those who prefer experiential learning are more likely to gain from reading a story with a predominant grammatical feature. For example, is reported speech, than they are for being taught that feature explicitly. And style of learning which need to be catered for in language learning materials include visual, auditory, kinesthetic, studial, communication, analytic, global, dependent, and independent. Visual, for example, learners prefer to see the language written down. Auditory, for example, learners prefer to hear the language. Kinesthetic, for example, learners prefer to do something physical, such as following instruction for a gum. Studial, for example, learners like to pay conscious attention to the linguistic features of the language and want to be correct. Experiential, learners like to use the language and are more concerned with communication than with correctness. Analytic, learners prefer to focus on discrete bits of the language and to learn them one by one. Global, for example, learners are happy to respond to whole chunks of language at a time and to pick up from them whatever language they can. Dependent, for example, learners prefer to learn from a teacher and from a book. Independent, for example, learners are happy to learn from their own experience of the language and to use autonomous learning strategies. And the last one is material should maximize learning potential by encouraging intellectual, aesthetic, and emotional involvement which stimulates both right and left brain activities. A narrowly focused series of activities which require very little cognitive processing. For example, mechanical drills, rule learning, simple transformation activities usually lead to shallow and ephemeral learning unless linked to other activities which stimulate mental and affective processing. Okay, I think this presentation is enough for today. I would like to thank you all for taking time to listen to my presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.